Hey bro, how you doing? I'm not going to waste your time. You've clicked on the video. You want to know the mindset shift that finally got me from this to this. So I'm going to get straight into it. The biggest thing and the first thing that I want to discuss is I stopped eating for taste and I started eating for how I felt after the meal. This is the biggest one. It's the reason why I'm putting it at the start of the video. I started to really understand how my body felt after a meal was a lot more important than the dopamine spike that I was getting during the meal. Because if you think about it, how long does it take for you to eat something that you know isn't good for you? And if it's really tasty, like a chocolate cake, I can slam that down my throat. That sounds sus. I can eat a chocolate cake in literally like a minute, 30 seconds, maybe even shorter than that. And so when I started to understand that how I felt after a meal was the thing that was more valuable than just the good feelings I was experiencing during the meal, this is the biggest shift I made. And if you can just understand this one point, then all of the other points that I'll mention in this video will just become more automatic. So this is basically a practice of delaying gratification. I became so mindful of the mental health dip that came just after I ate something that I knew wasn't really good for me. It would just be a tiny dip after I would notice that, wow, I just ate this food I know wasn't in line with where I want it to be. It's not in line with where my goals are set. And so I just want to point out that this is a process that takes time. And it wasn't instant, but I started to learn about what my body really liked. And generally lighter meals that were higher in protein, higher in healthy fats, sticking to whole foods was something that made me feel very clear and very light afterwards. So listen to your body. Because you know that feeling after eating, right? You eat something really heavy and then you just want to do nothing. You just want to sit on the couch and just veg out because you get this huge insulin spike and then you crash afterward. And then you go to sit on the couch. You're very sluggish, you're tired, you've just eaten heaps of like bread or pastries or pasta, and then the devil comes knocking at the door. He goes, "Hey, what are you doing in there? I know you just ate a meal that was very sluggish. Why don't we check the hub now?" The hub is a good idea to check now. This is what the devil is saying to you after you've had a meal that you know would make you sluggish. Do I feel clear? Do I feel like working out? All of these things are a contributing factor, and that's why I believe it's the most important point. And that leads me on to my second point. I started to get addicted to walking and at the same time used it as my education tool. In my downtime, I just went, fuck it. I'm going to go for a long walk and I'm going to put a podcast in. I would walk for about 40 minutes outside and it would start to become, pretty low stimulating and kind of boring. But then eventually I realized that walking is fun. Walking is also the thing that's going to cause the most amount of fat loss for you. That slow, steady state cardio, getting 8 to 10,000 steps per day is a super effective way to shred fat off you while at the same time keeping your muscle mass. And so I like to do this after my first meal of the day. Whatever time you eat your first meal, go on a walk and put a podcast in and just use it as a time of reflection and of learning, knowing that, yes, I'm getting leaner the more I do this. You need to make these small things fun for you because that's what's going to actually make you stick to it rather than just go, oh, it's boring, it doesn't work. And then 6 months down the line, you're still at the same position. The small habits have the highest return. Also, if you want to know this, not only does walking really help with fat loss, and it also decreases your appetite, but it also increases a thing called sex hormone binding globulin, which in bro science terms means it actually increases the level of testosterone in your body. Just finding more time to get outside and go for 5 to 10 minutes per day is enough to see huge returns in the future. And then the next thing comes up. I stopped operating out of the normal confines of societal programming around breakfast, lunch, and dinner. When you embark on this journey and you want to be a 1% man, and you want to walk into a room or you want to take your shirt off at a beach and have people go, holy fuck, this guy is incredible, then you have to break out of this NPC way of thinking around what times you have meals. Just how I don't see days of the week, like I don't see Monday as Monday, Tuesday as Tuesday, Wednesday as Wednesday. I just see them as another day. That is also how I see meals of the day. The mindset switch I had in the realms of this is I simply saw eating meals as intuitively knowing what food I need at a certain time. So instead of waking up and having breakfast straight away, I fast for about 5 to 6 hours and have my first meal at around 1. I don't call it lunch. I don't call it breakfast because I know exactly what I'm going to eat and I know exactly what I'm going to need. You guys, if you've seen How I Eat for High Testosterone 2024, you can watch that. I'll put a link up here. If you've seen that video, then you know I just break my fast with like 8 eggs. That's it. 8 eggs and a little bit of sauerkraut. When I tell people this, like around my day, they go like, what the fuck? This guy's really weird. But then they see my body and they go, wow, how do you get a body like that? It's like the things that you think are weird are going to be the things that are actually going to have the best benefit for you. Not eating breakfast is seen as such a strange thing nowadays, and I don't get why. Oh wait, I do. Because everyone is fat and miserable. So everyone thinks it's weird because they can't understand how to operate outside of the societal conditioning they've been brought into. So in Australia, we have a thing called a Aussie Big Brekkie, and it's similar to an English Big Breakfast. So it's basically fried or scrambled eggs on some sort of toast. There's normally a sausage in there. It's kind of weird. Baked beans or some sort of bean, hash browns, and tomatoes. This is like a standard breakfast food or breakfast meal that you would have at an Australian cafe or at an English cafe. And if I'm really feeling pulled towards it and I intuitively know that that's what I need or something along those lines, I will literally cook that at like 7 at night. I try not to leave my meals too late before I go to bed, and that's a whole nother story. You don't want to eat too close to bedtime because your insulin goes up and that affects the amount of deep rest that you get. But I will eat a meal like this at any time of the day just by listening to what my body needs. So if you want a body that makes people just absolutely be in awe of how you did it, then these are extremely important points to remember. Step outside of the societal conditioning that you're programmed into and is super easy to be sucked into. Breakfast doesn't exist. Lunch doesn't exist. Dinner and dessert don't exist. You know what exists? Food. Food is a tool. And similar to your phone, if you use it correctly, then it can elevate your life in ways that you never thought were possible. This doesn't mean you have to be an absolute robot and be like, no, I'm not going to eat food at this time because I don't want to eat breakfast. And Musaeus said, don't eat breakfast. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that simply by changing your mindset around, if I want to be shredded, then I have to step away from the idea that I need 3 meals a day is all it takes. That's all of the awareness that I want to bring into your mind. So to wrap up this point, if it's too easy, then avoid it. Developing your intuition around how your body feels is going to be my next point. Imagine asking your ancestors who hunted mammoths and lions how many calories they were on for the day. You go up to them, you're like, whoa, how many calories is that mammoth steak you're about to eat? And they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? What's a calorie? I found tracking macros to feel like I was being put into a box. Now, I'm not arguing against the use of apps like MyFitnessPal, and I use them for a short amount of time. But I found that when I was letting my entire day be dictated on how many calories I was eating, whether I was cutting or bulking at the time, entering in the amount of food that I had into MyFitnessPal was really just messing up my mental health. And I remember the time when I started to understand more about how to intuitively eat, stepping away from all of the noise, including MyFitnessPal and any calorie tracking app, really allowed my brain and my body to understand what I intuitively need, as mentioned previously. So there is a clear distinction between your intuition and then also your addict brain telling you that you need this food. What you need is a deep gut feeling. What you want feels like a heady push into it. And this push is your addict brain telling you just to eat more because it's there. Because the food is right there, it's in the kitchen, it's in the pantry, the cookies are there, go push. And it's a brain feeling, it's this addict like, wow. Starting to understand how my intuition at certain times of the day and certain times of the year has been an extremely powerful thing. It's kind of why I am so passionate about food actually and about nutrition, because I believe this bodybuilding kind of mindset around, oh, you need to make sure you know exactly what calories you're having and chocolate milk, Sam Sulek. I believe that those things will mess more people up than just understanding, hey, we can be like our ancestors and we can start to understand, okay, we know how to intuitively eat. We know what's right for us. We just need to listen to our body. It's similar to like when a pregnant woman starts to want to crave red meat more. This actually happened with my sister. She was recently pregnant last year, being a vegetarian for most of her life, and started to eat more steak and started to eat more beef, and that improved her life because it was an intuitive pull that said her body needed it to provide for the baby that she was carrying. I made a full video on how to hear your intuition, not just for diet and not just for food, but for your success and your lifestyle and your fitness. Click up here so you can go watch that video right now. I think you'll find it really valuable. And so throughout this period, when I was switching my mindset that got me extremely lean, I realized that cooking food became the highest ROI skill in my entire life. Let me ask you this: how long does it take you to go onto Uber Eats or any food delivery app you have in your country, scroll down to the restaurant that you want, click on the food that you want? Maybe you want like a main, you want like a side, accessories, like dessert, a drink. How long does it take you to click all of that, pay for the food? If you don't have your card details automatically entered into the app, then enter in all your card details, set your address, wait for the delivery driver to go to the restaurant, pick up the food, come back to you. How long does that take? If you're an average normie, which if you're watching my content, then you're not. You're too similar to me if you're watching my videos. But if you're the average normie that convinces themselves that, oh, it doesn't take too long, I like to get my food delivered, it's right around the corner, then you're just lying to yourself. If you haven't cooked that much in your life, you can make something that is extremely nutritional in half the time it takes for you to even order the food and get it to your house. Now, I'm not going to ignore the fact that I literally live in the middle of the Australian bush and there's not many takeaway options available except for me going out and hunting a bandicoot or a snake or some koala drop bear out there and cooking it here. But even then, that's not takeaway. I have lived in a city before, and so I wish I could go back to my younger self and tell him, listen, you don't have to order Domino's twice a day, because that's literally what I used to do. You can actually make something that is just as tasty and is going to make you feel full of vitality, vigor, viril, and it's going to make you want to fuck the world and do cool shit. You just need to spend a bit of time cooking it. And it's not going to take that much time because by the time the Domino's driver gets to your door, you've already eaten it. In fact, just for you, I will do this test right now. Follow me. Okay, so going to start the timer now and cook my favorite meal, which is just eggs on sourdough. You can see I have the pan a little bit too hot here, but I like to toast my bread in the pan. It is the superior way. It's better than a toaster. Next, you're going to crack your eggs into the bowl. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Get your fifth one in there. I left a little bit of eggshell in there. Had to get that out. So crack your eggs into the bowl. Super simple. Make sure the yolks are nice and yellow. Checking the timer there, we're at 3 minutes. Put your eggs into the pan. Let them sizzle for a bit. Now I like to use a Celtic sea salt, which is really highly mineralized salt. Chuck that on the eggs. You've got this beautiful egg dish, and then done. Boom. 11 minutes in total to cook this entire meal. And there you have it, 11 minutes to make that. And I'm going to enjoy every single second of it. I hope you enjoyed this video, bro. If you did, then leave a like. Let me know what you think of it. Have a blessed day, brother. See you soon.